All right, Genesis 3. Genesis 3, let's call this one enjoying. Enjoying. Why? Because going through it this time, I seem to notice that even though this is a famous story of Adam and Eve, I noticed this time that it reminded me of the ways in which we can be a lot better at wanting than we can be at seeing. What does that mean? Well, I'm often a lot better at wanting something than seeing the outcome of actually getting that thing. And so ultimately, how does that relate to what goes on in Genesis 3? Well, Eve, in seeking wisdom, seeks to get wisdom in spite of God instead of partnering with God. Likewise, a generation later, she has a son by the name of Cain. And Cain, instead of partnering with his brother to achieve excellence, gets envious of his brother, lashes out at him, and kills him because of his brother Abel's excellence. And a few generations later, Abel has a descendant by the name of Lamech. And Lamech, instead of making a just response to a young man who strikes him, kills that young man, overreacting. And each of these individuals did a lot better job of seeing what they wanted in the moment than seeing the outcomes of how they were going to go about getting it. Why? Because Eve, in reaching for wisdom in spite of God's help, ends up losing a son. Cain, in seeking his brother's favor and recognition, ends up making himself a pariah amongst the people of his day. And Lamech, instead of making the environment safer for himself and his family, ends up making the entire world more dangerous, setting in motion a course of events where violence or killing is a legitimate response to feeling disrespected and insulted. And so he sets in motion a course that ends up in Genesis 6, where violence is so common on the earth that God just restarts it through Noah anyway. And so each of these individuals, in grabbing for what they wanted, ended up actually hurting their own ability to enjoy life, whether or not they got what they wanted or not. And what's the lesson for us? Often, when we are too quick to grab for the things that we want, we are doing it without fully seeing the consequences of getting the thing that we're hoping to win. And so ultimately, when we're looking at Genesis 3, we're looking at a story where God is trying to get us today, just as much as then, to pause and consider the consequences of grabbing without considering the effects of getting what we want on the people around us. The Bible says it like this: better is a dry morsel with peace out in a desert than feasting in a house that's filled with conflict. And so if we are going about getting the fulfillment of all our ambitions and our dreams, but we're doing it in a way that destabilizes our own home or our own environment, what have we really won? And so Genesis 3 is asking us to reevaluate the cost of getting, often because the desire for more can make us short-sighted and lose track of what we're losing in the process. God's best to you as you go forward in him, though.